The vast silence of space surrounded the diplomatic ship Aurora's Dawn as it drifted toward the shining world of SciFiSaga. Captain Elias Ward stood at the front viewing deck, his reflection faintly visible in the glass, and tried to steady his thoughts. He was the first human ever chosen to speak with the Seraphis Dominion, one of the most powerful civilizations in the known galaxy. The responsibility felt like a weight pressing on his shoulders, heavy yet impossible to set down. Behind him, a few of Earth's top diplomats whispered anxiously. They had studied everything available about the Seraphis: records from probes, fragments of intercepted transmissions, rumors passed by smaller alien traders. Yet no amount of preparation could change the fact that what waited below was a mystery wrapped in awe. SciFiSaga glowed like a jewel. Its atmosphere shimmered with pale silver light, and from orbit, the cities resembled rivers of crystal flowing between great emerald valleys. Even the most skeptical diplomats on board had fallen silent at the sight. Elias adjusted the collar of his uniform. He had once been a soldier before becoming a diplomat. He was not chosen for his eloquent words, but for his ability to stand calmly under pressure. The United Earth Council believed that if anyone could face the unknown without trembling, it was him. A voice came through the ship's comms, smooth and melodic, though no translation device was active. "Children of Earth, the Queen awaits." The words were not spoken aloud, but rang inside each mind on board. Some diplomats flinched, others pressed hands to their temples. Elias simply exhaled and nodded, even though he knew the Seraphis could not see him. Moments later, beams of soft white light wrapped around him and the small delegation. Gravity seemed to vanish, and with it the Aurora's Dawn. When sight returned, they were standing on polished stone that shimmered faintly as though alive. They had been transported to the throne hall of SciFiSaga. The hall was vast, its ceiling lost in streams of light that shifted like auroras. Pillars curved like trees of glass, and faint echoes of music seemed to breathe through the air. At the center, seated upon a dais of silver and green crystal, was the Seraphis Queen. Queen Iliara was taller than any human, her presence both radiant and graceful. Her form shimmered as if woven from light, yet her eyes, deep, endless, and filled with stars, rested gently on Elias. A crown like flowing silver mist circled her head, moving as though alive. The human delegation bowed carefully. Elias lowered his head, though he felt her gaze piercing through him. The hall was filled with hundreds of Seraphis nobles, all silent, all watching. Then, without a sound, the Queen rose. Her steps made no noise as she descended the dais. The air shifted, carrying a soft hum that was neither music nor voice, but something in between. When she stopped before Elias, the hum settled into silence. Her eyes met his. He expected words of protocol, formal greetings, or perhaps questions about Earth's intentions. Instead, she leaned close, her presence warm and strangely gentle. In a voice softer than breath, though it echoed within his very thoughts, she spoke. "Human, will you be my king?" The hall fell utterly silent. Even the music-like echoes seemed to fade. The diplomats stiffened in shock, some nearly stumbling. Elias himself froze, his mind racing. He had prepared for trade negotiations, treaties, or even threats. But this was something else entirely. The Queen did not move away. She simply looked at him, her expression unreadable but her gaze unwavering. And then, in a gesture so natural it seemed out of place in such a grand setting, she extended her arms and embraced him. It was not the cold, formal gesture of a ruler. It was a true embrace, one filled with warmth and something deeper, hope. The soft radiance of her form wrapped gently around him. The diplomats behind him whispered nervously. Some reached for their translation devices as if they had misheard. Others exchanged worried glances, unsure if this was a political strategy, a test, or something far more personal. Elias's instincts screamed at him to answer, but his training urged patience. He gently stepped back, meeting her gaze. "My queen," he said carefully, "I am honored by your words, but I do not yet understand what they mean." The queen's lips curved into the faintest smile. Her voice rang softly in his mind again. "It means your spirit carries what mine cannot. It means you are the bridge my people seek." Gasps echoed among the Seraphis nobles. Some bowed their heads as though in reverence. Others exchanged uneasy glances. Clearly, this was no casual statement. Elias steadied his breath. He thought of Earth, of the Council waiting anxiously for news, of the billions of humans who depended on him to represent them. Accepting the Queen's request without understanding could bind humanity in ways they could not escape. But refusing her here and now might insult one of the most powerful rulers in the galaxy. The Queen seemed to sense his conflict. Her hand, luminous and graceful, rose slightly, not touching him but hovering just near his chest. The warmth of her presence seemed to ease the tension within him. "I see your fear," she whispered in his mind. "But you must also see my truth. The Seraphis are strong, yes, but strength alone cannot heal the galaxy. We need something more. Your kind's unyielding spirit, your refusal to surrender even when fragile. That is what I ask of you, Elias Ward, not conquest, not chains. A vow to stand beside me, so that others may see hope." Her words stirred something within him. He had fought wars. He had seen the cruelty of space. But he had also seen how humans rose from ashes again and again, never letting despair become final. Was that truly something the Seraphis saw as special? Before he could answer, one of the diplomats, Ambassador Wren, stepped forward nervously. "Your Majesty," Wren said, his voice trembling, "surely you do not mean marriage. Surely this is symbolic." The Queen's gaze shifted to Wren, and for a moment, her radiant eyes glowed brighter. "Symbols are empty unless lived," she replied softly. The hall remained hushed, the tension thick as silence wrapped around them all. Elias realized this moment would echo across history. Humanity's first meeting with the Seraphis would not be remembered for cautious treaties or polite words, but for a single, unexpected question and an embrace that defied every expectation. Elias did not give an answer that day. He bowed, meeting the Queen's eyes with quiet respect. "I hear your request, my Queen," he said. "But a choice such as this deserves understanding. Allow me to learn before I decide." The Queen studied him for a long moment. Then she inclined her head, her silver crown shimmering. "Then learn," she whispered, "for the galaxy waits." The embrace ended, but the memory of it lingered as Elias and his delegation were escorted from the hall. For the first time since he had accepted this mission, Elias felt that his path would not be guided by orders or politics, but by something deeper, something both fragile and powerful. As he glanced back one last time, the Queen was still watching him, her eyes calm yet filled with a quiet certainty. And in that silence, Elias knew that the true beginning of humanity's story among the stars had just been written. Captain Elias Ward sat in his assigned quarters on SciFi-Prime, the weight of silence pressing heavily against him. The chamber glowed faintly with soft green light, its walls alive with shifting patterns like flowing rivers. It was beautiful, peaceful even, yet Elias could not calm the storm in his thoughts. The Queen's question echoed again and again inside his mind. "Human, will you be my king?" She had not spoken it as a casual invitation, nor as a trick. He had felt something genuine in her whisper, something that carried both hope and desperation. But what did it mean for him? What did it mean for Earth? He closed his eyes, remembering her embrace. It had been unexpected, almost overwhelming. The Queen of the Seraphis, an ancient and radiant ruler, had chosen him, not the Council, not Earth as a whole, but him. And somehow it had felt personal. The sliding door of his chamber opened with a gentle sound. Ambassador Wren stepped inside, his face pale and tight with worry. "Elias," Wren whispered, glancing around as though the walls themselves might be listening. "Do you understand what she asked of you?" "I'm not sure anyone does," Elias admitted. Wren stepped closer, his hands shaking slightly. "If you agree, you might bind Earth to her rule. If you refuse, we risk insulting the Seraphis beyond repair. Either path could decide the fate of billions." Elias leaned back in his chair. "I know. That's why I can't answer yet." Wren sighed, running a hand through his hair. "The Council is waiting for our report. They expect careful negotiation, not marriage proposals." His voice dropped even lower. "They might order you to refuse." Elias looked up sharply. "And if refusing means war?" Wren had no answer. He simply lowered his eyes, then left without another word. The next day, Elias was escorted through the heart of the Seraphis capital. The city was unlike anything he had ever seen. Towers of living crystal reached into the sky, glowing faintly as though they breathed with the people. Bridges arched between them like strands of light. Everywhere, Seraphis citizens moved with calm grace, their forms shimmering faintly. Yet beneath their beauty, Elias noticed fragility. Their movements were deliberate, almost slow, as if they carried a hidden burden. Their faces, strange yet expressive, often showed weariness. These were not conquerors basking in power. They were survivors. A Seraphis guide, a tall figure named Lyrian, walked beside him. Her voice was gentle, her thoughts flowing directly into his mind. You wonder why the Queen asked what she asked? Elias nodded. I do. Lyrian tilted her head, her silver crown-like crest catching the light. Our people are strong in mind, in knowledge, and in the shaping of matter. But our spirit, it is fragile. We endure, but we do not rise when we fall. We heal slowly. We fear deeply. The Queen believes your kind carries what we lack. Elias frowned. You've studied humans? For centuries, Lyrian replied calmly. We have watched your wars, your recoveries, your endless drive to rebuild. You are small compared to us, yet you rise each time you are broken. That is why the Queen asks, not for a throne shared, but for a soul beside her own. Elias fell silent. He thought of Earth's long history. Wars, disasters, endless conflicts, and yet humanity always pushed forward. Was that truly something unique, or was it simply stubbornness? As they approached the palace gardens, Lyrian stopped. She waits for you, she whispered. Elias walked alone into a wide courtyard filled with trees of crystal leaves and flowing streams of light. The Queen stood at the center, gazing at the sky. When she turned, her radiant eyes softened. You came, she said, her voice echoing in his mind like music. I needed answers, Elias replied carefully. The Queen studied him for a long moment. Then she gestured to the glowing streams around them. Do you see this world? It shines, yet it trembles. We stand on beauty, but it cracks beneath the weight of fear. My people look to me, but even I cannot hold them forever. If the galaxy is to survive, it must see hope in something beyond the Seraphis. That is why I ask you. Elias hesitated. But why me? I'm no king. I'm just a soldier who became a diplomat. The Queen stepped closer, her presence warm like sunlight. Because you do not see yourself as more than you are. That humility is the strength of your kind. I chose you not for crowns or armies, but for the truth in your heart. Her words stirred something inside him, yet doubt remained. If I agree, won't Earth fear that we are becoming subjects to the Seraphis? The Queen's eyes glimmered with sadness. Then they do not yet understand. I ask for no subjects. I ask for a bridge. Alone we fall apart. Together perhaps we rise. Before Elias could respond, a messenger rushed into the garden, bowing low before the Queen. His telepathic voice was sharp with alarm. My Queen, the rival coalition has sent word. They call your request to the human an act of deception. They claim humanity is already enslaved by you. Elias felt a chill run through him. So soon the galaxy was already twisting the moment into something dangerous. The Queen's expression remained calm, though her eyes darkened. Let them speak, she said softly. Their fear does not change my truth. After the messenger left, Elias spoke firmly. This will spread. If I stand beside you, some will see alliance, others will see conquest, and some will see betrayal. The Queen stepped close once more. Her voice was soft, but it carried the weight of centuries. Then what do you see, Elias Ward? Elias searched her eyes, luminous and filled with something he could not name. He remembered the embrace, the warmth that had felt less like power and more like trust. I see someone asking me to believe, he admitted quietly. The Queen's lips curved into the faintest smile. Then believe, not in crowns or thrones. Believe in the bridge between us. Her hand hovered near his chest again, never touching, but close enough that he felt her presence. In that moment, Elias realized that the question was no longer about him alone. It was about humanity, the Seraphis, and perhaps the entire galaxy. He did not answer yet. Instead, he bowed slightly. Then let me walk among your people. Let me see with my own eyes what this bridge would mean. The Queen inclined her head gracefully. So be it. Learn, Elias Ward, for when you choose, the stars will listen. That evening, Elias sent a coded message back to Earth. The Council demanded clarity, pressing him for details. Some leaders were furious, warning him not to bind humanity to alien rule. Others urged him to consider the advantage such a union could bring. Elias read their words, but felt distant from them. He had stood before the Queen, seen her eyes, felt the fragile strength of her people. No words from Earth could erase that experience. He closed the message and stared out at the city, glowing beneath the twin moons. Somewhere out there, Queen Ilyara waited, her whisper still echoing in his heart. He did not yet know his answer, but he knew this. His choice would not be made in fear. It would be made in truth, and when it came, the galaxy would never be the same. The sun of SciFi-Prime rose slowly, its light washing the crystal towers in soft silver. Captain Elias Ward stood on a balcony of the palace watching the city awaken. From above, the streets looked calm, but Elias could sense the tension in the air. The Queen's question to him, her whispered request to become her king, had spread across the galaxy like fire. Rumors twisted the moment into many shapes. Some said it was a sacred union that would bring peace. Others claimed it was a scheme to enslave humanity. Worse still, rival powers beyond Seraphis borders had begun to stir, seeing opportunity in the confusion. Elias rested his hands on the railing. He was not a man easily shaken, but the weight pressing on him now was heavier than any battle he had fought. He had been trained to negotiate treaties to calm tempers, but not to decide the fate of two civilizations. The door behind him opened softly. Queen Ilyara stepped into the light, her presence radiant yet quiet. Her eyes filled with calm strength searched his face. "You do not sleep," she said gently. Elias gave a faint smile. "It's hard to, with the whole galaxy watching." The Queen moved beside him, her gaze sweeping across the city. "They watch because they fear. Some fear loss of power, some fear hope itself." Elias turned to her. "And what do you fear?" For a moment her eyes softened. "I fear that if you turn away, the galaxy will break beyond repair." Her honesty struck him. She was a queen, a ruler who commanded vast fleets and worlds, yet here she was admitting fear to him. Elias respected her even more for it. Before he could respond, a Seraphis messenger approached, bowing low. His telepathic voice carried urgency. "My queen, a coalition fleet has entered neutral space. They demand a council or they will act." Elias's jaw tightened. "Which coalition?" The messenger's gaze darkened. "The Cathari and their allies. They spread word that humanity has already fallen under your control. They claim the Seraphis seek to use Earth as a weapon." The Queen's expression remained calm, but the faint glow in her eyes dimmed slightly. "So the storm begins." Later that day, Elias stood in the council chamber of SciFi-Prime. Holographic projections filled the air, showing faces of leaders from many worlds. Some appeared proud and defiant, others cautious, and some openly hostile. A Cathari general, his scaled features sharp and his eyes burning with suspicion, leaned forward. "Human," he hissed, "do you not see the trap? The Queen binds you with soft words, and soon your world will be hers to command." Elias stood tall, his voice steady. "I see no chains. The Queen asked for trust, not conquest," the general sneered. "And you believe her? Foolish? The Seraphis have always sought to dominate. They speak of hope, but their fleets burn those who resist." Before Elias could reply, Queen Ilyara spoke, her voice like calm waters. "We do not burn, we defend. It is fear that paints us as monsters." The chamber filled with murmurs, some doubtful, some supportive. Elias could feel the eyes of countless species upon him. In this moment he was not only a diplomat, he was humanity's face, their voice, their shield. He drew a breath. "I am not a king," he said firmly, "and Earth is not a subject. But I have walked among the Seraphis. I have seen their beauty and I have seen their wounds. They do not seek to chain us, they seek to stand beside us. If the galaxy cannot believe in unity, then we will all fall into endless war." Silence followed his words. For a moment Elias thought he saw doubt flicker in the Cathari general's eyes. But then the general slammed his fist against the table. "If you will not step away, then you stand against us. Choose carefully, human. Your answer may decide whether your people live or die." The projection faded, leaving the chamber heavy with tension. That evening, Elias walked alone through the palace gardens. The glowing streams and crystal trees no longer felt peaceful. Instead, they reminded him of fragile glass that could shatter at any moment. He thought of Earth. Already, leaders back home were divided. Some feared that accepting the Queen's request would make humanity weak, bound to an alien empire. Others saw it as a chance to rise beyond their limits, to step into the galaxy with strength. His communicator buzzed with a new message from the council. He opened it reluctantly. "Captain Ward," the message read, "you are ordered to avoid personal entanglements with the Seraphis Queen. Humanity must remain free of any symbolic ties that could threaten our independence. Refuse her offer. Return at once. Elias lowered the device slowly. His chest tightened. They didn't understand, or perhaps they refused to see what he had seen. The Seraphis were not conquerors seeking subjects, but a people holding themselves together with fragile hope. A soft presence stirred behind him. The Queen had arrived, her step silent as always. "You received orders," she said gently. Elias nodded. "They want me to refuse you." The Queen studied him quietly. "And what do you want?" Elias looked at her, truly looked. She was radiant, powerful, but also deeply human in her vulnerability. Her people needed hope, and perhaps so did his own. "I want to make the right choice," he admitted. "Not for Earth alone. Not for Seraphis alone. For all of us." The Queen's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Then you are already a king, whether you wear a crown or not." The next day, alarms rang across the city. The rival coalition had moved faster than expected. Fleets massed on the border of Seraphis space, demanding surrender. In the War Council, Seraphis commanders argued fiercely. Some urged immediate retaliation. Others begged for restraint. The Queen listened silently, her gaze steady. Elias spoke at last. "If you strike first, they will call you aggressors. If you wait, they will strike and claim you were weak. You need a different path." The commanders turned to him in surprise.
"What path?"
one demanded. Elias met the Queen's eyes. "Show them that Seraphis and humanity stand together. Not as ruler and subject, but as equals. If they see us united, they may hesitate." The Queen nodded slowly. "Then stand with me, Elias Ward, not as king, not as subject, as bridge." Elias drew a breath. He knew what it meant. He knew the council would rage, that Earth would question his loyalty, but he also knew that hesitation would doom them all. He stepped forward and stood beside her. The room fell silent. The Queen's voice rang across the chamber, strong yet calm. "Let it be known. The human does not bow to us, nor do we bow to him. We walk together. If the coalition wishes to see enemies, then they will face both our peoples united." The council chamber erupted with voices, some in awe, some in fear, some in outright protest. But the decision had been made. Elias felt the weight of it settle on his shoulders. He had not given the Queen the answer she asked for, not fully. But in that moment, he had chosen to stand beside her. The rising storm could not be stopped. War was coming. But if he must face it, he would face it not as a man divided, but as a bridge between worlds. And perhaps that was what humanity was meant to be. The sky above SciFi-Prime darkened as fleets from the Cathari and their allies approached the glowing planet. Their ships, black and jagged, cut across the pale light of the twin suns like knives. From orbit, the view was both terrifying and mesmerizing. Elias Ward stood at the command balcony, his uniform crisp, his eyes scanning the horizon. The Queen was beside him, radiant even in the shadow of incoming war. Her presence brought a calm that Elias had learned to rely on. But the tension in the fleet below reminded him that calm alone would not win this battle. "Are you ready?" the Queen asked, her voice echoing in his mind. Elias swallowed hard. "As ready as I can be. But this isn't just about power. It's about trust, strategy, and showing the galaxy what humanity can do." Her gaze softened. "Then show them." The War Council had been tense for days. Seraphis commanders, brilliant in their own right, had never faced an enemy united against them with such speed. The Cathari had misinterpreted the union of human and Seraphis as a weakness. They assumed the humans were untrained and disorganized. Elias knew otherwise. Humans might lack the advanced technology of the Seraphis, but they had something equally powerful: creativity, adaptability, and relentless courage. "Captain Ward," one commander said, his eyes flashing, "we cannot risk sending humans to the front lines. They will be destroyed." Elias shook his head. "No, we can't underestimate them. I've trained with them. I know what they can do when given a chance. We must use their ingenuity. It will surprise the enemy." The commander frowned. "And if they fail?" "Then we fail together," Elias replied calmly. "But if they succeed, the galaxy will see that humanity is not just a species to fear or pity. They are a force to reckon with." The Queen looked at him with pride. "You speak of courage as if it is a weapon. Perhaps it is. When the first attack came, it was sudden and brutal. The Cathari fleet moved in jagged formations, aiming to break Seraphis defenses before humans could even respond. Energy beams sliced through the darkness, striking the outskirts of the planetary shield. Elias stood at the tactical station, coordinating human and Seraphis units. The human pilots, small but fearless, maneuvered in ways the Seraphis had not predicted. They dodged and struck with precision, using clever tactics to create openings in the enemy lines. A young human fighter named Mara spun her ship through a narrow asteroid field, luring a squadron of Cathari into a trap. Elias watched her movements, exhilarated. Humans were unpredictable, and that unpredictability was turning the tide. The Queen's fleet followed the human lead, striking with coordinated precision. For the first time in history, Seraphis and humans fought as equals, their strengths complementing each other. Elias's heart raced as reports came in. The enemy was faltering, their formations broken by clever maneuvers. Humanity's courage was shining through. The battle reached its peak when a Cathari command ship targeted the Queen directly. Its massive energy cannon charged, threatening to destroy the Seraphis fleet in a single strike. "Captain Ward," a Seraphis commander shouted, "we cannot protect her." "The cannon will hit!" Elias didn't hesitate. He grabbed a smaller human fighter, Mara and her squadron, at his side. "Then we get close," he said. "We stop that cannon." They flew into the heart of the enemy formation, dodging energy blasts, weaving through enemy fighters, and finally reaching the command ship. Elias deployed an electromagnetic pulse device that disabled the ship's energy cannon. The human squadron held off enemy reinforcements long enough for the Seraphis fleet to strike the command ship directly, ending its attack. The Queen's eyes met Elias's as the dust settled. No words were needed. He had proven humanity's courage in the face of overwhelming odds. After the battle, the Queen and Elias stood among the Seraphis people. The planet's surface bore scars from the fight, but the citizens moved with renewed energy, inspired by the humans' bravery. "You see," the Queen whispered, "they feared humans would fail. But you have shown them strength beyond machines. You have shown them courage." Elias shook his head. "Not just me. Every human fought with everything they had. I merely guided them." The Queen smiled softly. She extended her hand, but instead of a formal gesture, she hugged him again. This time the embrace was quiet, comforting, and full of unspoken understanding. "My king," she whispered, "not for a crown, but for courage and hope. You and your people have shown that strength comes from spirit, not just power." Elias felt warmth spread through him. This was not about rules or politics anymore. This was about trust, partnership, and shared purpose. Humanity had stood not as subjects or pawns, but as equals. In the weeks following the battle, SciFiSaga became a hub of reconstruction and diplomacy. Human engineers worked alongside Seraphis architects to repair damage, sharing ideas and techniques. Soldiers trained together, learning from each other's tactics and strategies. Elias walked through the streets, watching humans and Seraphis citizens laugh, share stories, and rebuild. It was a sight that would remain etched in his memory forever. Lyrian, his guide, joined him. "You have done more than fight a battle," she said softly. "You have changed the perception of your people. They no longer see humans as outsiders. They see equals, and that is rare among the stars." Elias nodded. "We did it together. Humans are not perfect, but we have something they cannot ignore. Resilience. We rise when others might fall," Lyrian smiled. "And the Queen sees that clearly. That is why she asked you, not as a ruler over her, but as a partner who reflects hope back into the galaxy." One evening, as the twin suns set, Elias was called to the Queen's private garden. She stood beside a stream of glowing water, her form luminous in the dim light. "You have done well," she said, her voice soft. "But the galaxy will not rest. Others will see our unity as a threat. You must be ready for what comes next." "I know," Elias replied. "But for now we have shown them that courage and unity are stronger than fear." She stepped closer, brushing her hand against his. "And you have shown me that humans are more than I imagined. Not just strong, but capable of inspiring hope." Elias took a deep breath. "Then let us continue. Let us prepare, learn, and be ready. The galaxy is large, and we have much to protect." She smiled, a mixture of warmth and pride. "And when the time comes, you will not stand alone. Humanity stands with me, and I stand with you." For the first time, Elias felt the full weight of the Queen's trust and hope. This was no longer a question of power or politics or fear. It was a test of spirit. Humanity had risen to meet it, and in doing so had proven that courage and determination could light the darkest night. The stars above SciFi-Prime gleamed brightly, reflecting the union of two peoples. For the first time in countless centuries, hope seemed tangible, alive, and capable of changing the course of the galaxy. And in that quiet moment, Elias Ward realized that the battle had not only been fought in space, it had been fought within hearts, and humanity had triumphed. The galaxy seemed quieter now, though Elias knew the calm was fragile. After the battle with the Ketheri coalition, SciFi-Prime had begun rebuilding, its cities shining once more under twin suns. Human engineers and soldiers worked alongside the Serapis citizens, repairing the scars of war while forging new bonds. Captain Elias Ward walked through the palace gardens, the soft glow of the crystal streams lighting his path. Every time he looked around, he felt a mix of awe and pride. He had never imagined humans would achieve what they had, standing shoulder to shoulder with one of the oldest, most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. The Queen's presence was near, though he did not see her yet. He felt it as a calm warmth, a steady heartbeat that made him feel less alone in the vastness of space. "Elias," came her gentle voice from behind, carrying that same musical quality that had first whispered her request into his mind. He turned to see Queen Ilyara stepping toward him, radiant as ever. Her expression held the calm confidence of a ruler, but also a tenderness that few could imagine in one so powerful. "The galaxy is quiet for now," she said, "but it will not stay that way. Others will see what we have built here, and they may challenge it." Elias nodded. "Then we must be ready. Humanity has learned that courage and unity can be stronger than even the most advanced fleets. We will stand together, and we will show that peace is not weakness." She smiled faintly, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the crystal gardens. "You speak wisely, Captain Ward. Perhaps this is why I asked you what I did. Not because I needed a king, but because I needed someone who could understand that strength is more than weapons. It is spirit." Elias swallowed hard, the memory of her first whisper returning. "Human, will you be my king?" It had been unexpected, overwhelming, and yet comforting. He had not answered that day, not fully, but he now understood what she meant. It was not a question of crowns or titles. It was a question of trust, of partnership, of hope. "Then," he said quietly, "if the galaxy is to survive, then I will stand beside you, not as a ruler over your people and not as your subject, but as a partner, together as equals." Her lips curved into a gentle smile, and for the first time she spoke his title aloud, the words soft but full of meaning. "Then you are my king, Elias Ward. Not for a crown, but for courage, for hope, for humanity." Elias felt a warmth spread through him. This was no longer about orders, politics, or fear. This was about unity, the trust between species, the bond of shared determination, and the belief that the galaxy could rise above conflict. She stepped closer and embraced him. The moment was quiet, simple, and filled with understanding. No words were necessary. The promise was in the touch, in the connection of two people who had faced impossible odds together. Over the next weeks, the Council of Planets convened on SciFi-Prime. Leaders from countless worlds gathered in the Great Hall, discussing how to maintain peace after the recent conflicts. For the first time, humans were not mere observers. They were active participants, their representatives walking beside the Seraphis as equals. Elias stood at the front, alongside the Queen. He felt the eyes of hundreds of species upon him, some curious, some skeptical, others openly admiring. One of the council leaders, an elder from the Trellari species, stepped forward. "Captain Ward, you have led your people through unprecedented circumstances. Your courage, your strategy, and your spirit have proven humanity's worth in ways we never imagined." Elias bowed slightly. "Thank you. My people are resilient, not because of technology or weapons, but because we refuse to surrender when hope seems lost. Today we stand together to show that courage and unity can shape the galaxy." The council murmured with agreement. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer a distant or weak species. They had earned respect, not through conquest, but through action and integrity. The Queen's hand rested lightly on Elias's shoulder, a silent gesture of pride and trust. She addressed the council next. "Let this be known. The Seraphis and humans are allies, partners in hope. We do not rule one another, but we walk together. Let this union inspire the galaxy, not with fear but with courage and trust. The room fell silent. Then slowly the council members began to nod, some clapping, some speaking words of approval in their own languages. A new age of diplomacy had begun, built not on dominance but on mutual respect. That night the Queen invited Elias to walk with her among the gardens. The crystal streams reflected the soft light of the moons, and the air was filled with the gentle hum of life across SciFiSaga. "You have done well," she said, "but know that this is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast, and there are still those who see us as threats who will challenge our unity." Elias looked at her, his expression firm. "Then we continue. Humans have shown they can rise to challenges, and I will stand with you, just as my people will. Together we will face whatever comes next." She smiled, her eyes glimmering with quiet satisfaction. "And in standing together, you have shown what I always knew, that spirit, courage, and hope can shine even in the darkest corners of the universe." For a long moment, they walked in silence, sharing the calm of the night. Then the Queen spoke softly, her voice more intimate than ever. "Elias Ward, will you truly be my king? Not for the throne, not for power, but as a partner in all that is to come?" Elias took a deep breath. The weight of the galaxy seemed to rest upon that question, yet it was not a weight of fear but of responsibility. He nodded firmly. "Yes," he said, "I will stand beside you, as your partner, your ally, and the voice of humanity. Together we will build a future worth fighting for." The Queen's hand reached out, and again she embraced him. This time it was not a fleeting gesture, it was a vow. A promise to face the galaxy together with courage, trust, and hope as their guide. The stars above seemed to shine a little brighter, reflecting the bond between two species and the beginning of a new era. In the weeks that followed, humans and Seraphis continued to strengthen their alliance. Training programs, cultural exchanges, and joint missions became common. Humans learned Seraphis strategies, while Seraphis learned human creativity and adaptability. Elias oversaw much of this personally. He saw humans taking pride in their accomplishments not as conquerors, but as builders, teachers, and partners. And he saw the Seraphis, inspired by human courage, gaining confidence beyond the limitations they had carried for centuries. Together, they became a symbol for the galaxy, that differences could be celebrated, that unity could be formed without domination, and that courage, true courage, was a quality that transcended species. The Queen often watched Elias as he guided these efforts, her respect and admiration evident in quiet glances, and sometimes in private, she would whisper into his mind the same words she had first spoken, though now with certainty rather than a question. "Human, you are my king. Together we rise." Elias would smile, and their hands would meet in a gesture of trust. In that simple connection, the promise of a united galaxy was alive. And so, on SciFiSaga, under twin suns and glowing moons, a new chapter began. Humanity had proven itself not through domination but through courage, adaptability, and the refusal to surrender hope. And in the embrace of the Queen, Elias Ward realized that the bridge between worlds was not a dream, but a living reality. The galaxy watched, listened, and began to believe. For the first time in countless generations, hope had taken tangible form, through humans, through Seraphis, and through the bond of trust and courage that would guide them into the stars.